To my book talk community. It is May, guys, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month, among other things. But for these purposes, I'm highlighting Mental Health Awareness Month. And I wanted to share with you guys, I'm taking the rest of the month to share with you guys my favorite Black romance books that actually have mental health representation at the same time. Now, the first book I brought to you guys was Malachi by Gray Huffington. And in that book, we see how grief and major depression take hold of the main character, Malachi, and what that actually looks like. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the menace Maverick Caselli from 10,000 Hours with the Rich Menace. I know, y'all. I know. Y'all didn't realize, right? That mental health is actually represented beautifully by Jaquel J in this book. Let's just get straight into it and talk about what's going on. I know I'm an audiobook girly, so I gotta let you know the narrators. 10,000 Hours with the Rich Menace is narrated by Miles Washington and Simone Rothschild. So in 10,000 Hours with, I gotta laugh because just the title alone is like, are you serious? And I am so serious. In 10,000 Hours with a Rich Menace, the mental health challenge that we see Menace navigating is OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, some of the themes that we see in obsessive compulsive disorder include fear of contamination or dirt, needing things to be done in an orderly and balanced fashion, aggressive or horrific thoughts about losing control and harming yourself or others. Now, the way that these things tend to play themselves out is in staying away from situations that can cause obsession, such as shaking hands. If y'all know Menace, y'all already know that that's what's going on there. Fear of being contaminated and touching objects that others have touched. Doubts that you've locked doors and turned things off. And intense stress when things are not done orderly or when objects are facing a certain way. Now, when we're introduced to Menace and as we get to know Menace, we see that these symptoms are classic Maverick Caselli. He has to have control of things. He has to have things done consistently in the same way all the time. And when it's not, he gets very stressed out. We see this when he rubs his hands together, and sometimes he rubs himself raw because he's so stressed and he's so overstimulated. And that's the way he's able to cope with it, right? In that sensory way. Now, of course, because and I think, not for nothing, I think this is sort of the beauty of what Jaquel J is doing in this book for us as readers, right? And for mental health representation, because we're reading this, and if you don't understand and you're not necessarily inclined to understand how mental health challenges work, you may not even think that that's what Menace is going through. You may be inclined to think he's neurotic or he's rigid, which true, but you don't necessarily realize this man is battling severe OCD. That's a gift that Jaquel is giving to us in the sense that she's making this into something we can talk about in a normal way, and we ought to be and should be talking about in a normal way. People are dealing with challenges each and every day, and they are pushing through for dear life, and sometimes with no medication and no mental health services. And so when that's the case, the more you can normalize the topic and the more you can bring the conversation to the forefront, the way Jaquel J was able to do with Menace, the character, the better off we all are and the better opportunities we get to discuss these things openly and not push it to some quiet corner and make people feel embarrassed and ashamed. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, we are talking mental health and Black romance after all, so don't go crying and feeling bad for Menace because he does find his perfect match. She loves him with everything she has. She gets him. She understands him, and she doesn't need him to be anybody other than who he is. And she has her own challenges as well, and so she's bringing her own quirky self and her own challenges to the table that he too understands. And so it's a beautiful thing for him to be loved and for him to be loved fully for who he is. I'm going to keep it going for the rest of the month, but that's our second book where mental health and Black romance come together like a perfect little marriage.